Thank you, Warren, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see what I can do with this and see how it goes. 6 years ago, two wardens at the time, that was Bill King and the late Peter Godfrey, were standing near the entrance to the old rectory, waiting patiently for the arrival of our newly appointed priest. Time went by, and eventually a car pulled up the driveway and stopped near the walkway. Both the driver's door and the trunk popped open at the same time. And in a flash, an attractive woman was at the rear of the vehicle, pulling a scrubbing bucket and a mop from the trunk. The two wardens looked at each other, and Peter said to Bill, "Are we getting a rector or a cleaning lady?" I guess they knew right then and there we were getting someone who was fully committed, with a hands-on philosophy. Bill figures that when she leaves now in a few days, she should take her bucket and mop, because she might be retiring from preaching, but you can never retire from house cleaning. What an honor it is to stand before you this evening and participate in this special occasion. I call it special because it's difficult to categorize. It's an event that we celebrate with a smile on our faces and an ache in our hearts. It's kind of like the feeling of having your youngest child head off to the mainland to attend university. There's a sense of fulfillment and an inexplicable emptiness. So don't be surprised if you see people chatting, one with a grin and the other with watery eyes. It's just that type of occasion. For all that, we like to think of retirement as a celebration, a joyous event. After all, it means the achievement of another milestone along life's journey. It's a time for Reverend Daphne to put aside schedules and meetings and actually spend a full week with Carol, if she wants to. Tonight, then, is a time for family and friends to recall a few memories, tell a few stories, and crack a few jokes. Some may share a laugh about the time Reverend Daphne came to the annual meeting sporting a pair of odd shoes. Others will remember the time she discarded her clerical robes and adopted the guise of a mummer at the Christmas concert at the event center. Someone may relate the occasion when she got lost going to a funeral in King's Cove, and I heard ended up in Port Rexton. I just hope the right person was buried. Be it a blessing or a curse, we live in a hockey town, and everything here takes on a hockey perspective. About the same time, that word of Reverend Daphne's pending departure was crossing the line from idle gossip to hard fact. I overheard several of our most loyal hockey fans discussing the situation. They put it this way. Now I'm going to call them fan A, B, and C so as to conceal their identities. Fan A said, "Looks like Reverend Daphne won't be given 110% anymore. She's decided the time has come to hang up her vestments. How long has she been at this game anyway?" Fan B replied, "She's been wearing St. Mary's colors now for 6 years, but I think her career actually spanned about 12 altogether. Not that long, really." Fan C, the statistician in the group, said, "Do you know that only 4% of NHLers have a career of 12 years or more? So she did all right." And she hasn't slowed down that much either, even though, I heard she spent 30 years in the minors. Fanny, yeah, it's best to get out of this, when you're at the top of your game. That's what Gretzky did. By the way, who did we trade to get her anyway? Before they could come up with an answer, Fraser Russell came along and said, "We didn't trade anyone for her. We picked her up on waivers from Twillingate, and we darn well got our money's worth." here. I wonder what each of you would label as Reverend Daphne's greatest accomplishment. What does she leave as her legacy? These days, of course, we don't call it a legacy. We refer to it as leaving a footprint. For me, it's something very special, something that I would not have thought possible in my lifetime. Amazingly, it took place right here in this building. She has actually been able to get a portion of an Anglican congregation to clap their hands to the music during this. I know, I couldn't believe it either. You must know that in the eyes of other denominations, Anglicans are seen as rather formal, rather stiff and starchy. Clap their hands, they haven't got time, they're too busy trying to decide whether to kneel, sit or stand. I remember the first time Reverend Daphne laid down the praise book and put her hands together loud enough to be heard all over the church. Some 250 eyes popped open as the congregation gave a collective gasp like we'd all been simultaneously shot with a taser. What had come over the woman? Was she having a seizure? Well, she persisted. And word of our new charismatic nature has made its way to the other denominations. And I've heard that some of them are making a bold attempt to stay a step ahead of us. Rumor has it some congregations have advanced to the point where they're not just clapping their hands, they're tapping their toes and stamping their feet. And next thing you know, they'll be dancing. The revolution has begun. Reverend Daphne has indeed left her footprint. Now, while I may joke about it, the 6 years that Reverend Daphne has been in the parish has been anything but smooth sailing. We've had a disproportionate share of tragedy and anguish. We've lost many prominent individuals, not just prominent members of St. Mary's Church family, but of our community. Many who work closely with Reverend Daphne, and many I suggest you would call personal friends. It is indeed a true testimony to her faith that she's been able to inwardly grieve and outwardly counsel and console while carrying on the many duties of a busy parish priest. I'm sure you would agree that it takes something very special to deal with all of that. And if the seas weren't already choppy enough, Carl took ill. Or as we would say in Newfoundland, he had to be taken out of service and sent in for a refit. And scarcely had he returned from the dry dock and was put back on a regular run, and Reverend Daphne herself took ill. As you can see, I'm trying to keep this light. But you realize that we are not talking about insignificant maladies with quick fix solutions. These are serious, life-altering medical situations requiring complex treatments that will last a lifetime. How did Reverend Daphne maintain such a model of professionalism in the midst of all that? The kids at the youth group nicknamed her Ducky. And Ducky is a good name, but based on her experiences over the last 6 years, perhaps Wonder Woman would have been better suited. Because what I haven't mentioned is that while carrying all of this, she served as dean of the local deanery council, co-chair and chair of the local ministerial association. She made representation at the hospital board on behalf of pastoral care to get a palliative unit. She led the charge to replace the old rectory with the beautiful one we have now. She regularly made house calls, held services at the seniors' homes, and visited the hospital. She attended virtually every meeting and function that was held within the walls of this building. Then comes Sunday morning, here she is in church with that fresh from the hairdresser look, and a warm, friendly smile, fully prepared with another magnificently crafted and thought-provoking sermon. How did she do it? If you ask Reverend Daphne the source of all that strength, well, there's not a person in this room who does not know the answer that she would give. My primary function this evening is to say thank you. and to offer best wishes on behalf of the congregation. But I would like to request a little latitude in my approach. Reverend Daphne, one of your most redeeming qualities is your ability to make us feel as individuals. And I will attempt to respond likewise. I want to thank you on behalf of each and every member of the youth group, the confirmation classes, and the servers. You welcomed each one into a warm, relaxed atmosphere and made him or her feel very special. I want to say thank you on behalf of the sick and dying patient, whose burden of facing the unknown was lightened by your presence. Thank you for being there when called upon, day or night. I want to thank you on behalf of each resident of the Clarenville Retirement Home, the Dr. O'Malley Center, and Cozy Quarters, who suddenly became years younger at the mere sight of your bright smile and lively spirit. I want to thank you on behalf of each of the children who willingly came to church to see what was in Reverend Daphne's mystical bag and to hear her explain the joy of God in their lives. I want to thank you on behalf of the world-weary individual whose faith had been cracked and broken by the vicissitudes of life. Thank you for your inspiration and for being such a rock, strong and unwavering in the face of your own adversaries. I want to thank you on behalf of each family who phoned or came to your door and received help when there was no bed to sleep on, no food for the table, no clothes for the children, no money for rent. I want to thank you on behalf of each newlywed and each new parent whom you counseled in preparation for the various sacraments. I want to thank you on behalf of the grieving family for your true compassion, for your self-sacrifice, for your hours of companionship, and for your words of hope. I could go on to add the ACW, the choir, the men's group, the lay ministers, the vestry, the Sunday school, and so on. Put simply, Reverend Daphne, you are genuine. Your faith is strong. It radiates from you, and while we may not all experience it the same way, we know it as God's love, and we are strengthened. We thank God for your gift, and we thank you for sharing it with us. Reverend Daphne, this is a retirement that you've truly earned. I know I speak for every individual here, every member of the congregation, and every citizen of our town who has been touched by your presence when I wish you and Carol and your family many years of good health, relaxation, and happiness. When you pull away for the last time, I want you to know that behind each smiling face, there will be an aching heart. And I know that if we could step inside your mind, we would hear these words: the worship is over, the service begins.